The Morpheus8 skin tightening device has taken the world by storm, or took the world by storm, as you'd expect, because it was relatively new, different, and it had a load of marketing thrown at it. This is the holy trinity of how to start a trend in the cosmetic industry. But now that the hype has died down, we now have people realizing that it's not all it's cracked up to be. This this trend cycle happens all the time in the industry, not just with devices, but also with things like skincare and injectables too. In fact, think of how many trends you've seen come and go over the years. It's happening now with polynucleotides, if you check my last video out, and exosomes too. They're both kind of at the start of their cycle, and Morpheus8, I think, is coming to the end of its cycle. Part of the reason I think it's coming to the end of its cycle is that it's at the point now where there are groups online with so many horror stories of people who decided to have it after seeing so much marketing, and they're all showing pictures of what they look like after having it done, which aren't good, shall we say. It doesn't mean that this technology is bad or that it's going to disappear from the market anytime soon. I think it's just the reason that we have better devices at this technology now. But why is this happening? Like all these horror stories. Well, first off, I don't think the Morpheus8 is very good at this technology. It's called fractional RF radiofrequency microneedling. I'll get to why soon, and I'll explain why there's another device which I think is much better that I would choose instead every time. You see, this technology, fractional RF, works by sending energy into the skin without being too technical for now. So the choice of machine settings is crucial. It's like driving a car and not being able to choose inputs like, say, speed and direction, right? Clearly, you're going to have a crash if you don't control those things. In fractional RF, it's similar. You need to choose energy settings like, time over which that energy is delivered, which is called pulse duration, how deep you're delivering it, and the number of different depths you're delivering in the same session, etc., etc. It's not a simple case of just sticking the handpiece on someone's face and hoping that it will tighten and give you a good result. And the radio frequency of Morpheus8 is something that's called monopolar. So monopolar devices need a grounding pad where the energy flows from the handpiece through the body to the grounding pad and back to the machine. With a bipolar device, the energy flows from one needle tip to another, or to a grounding bar that's built into the tip of the handpiece, which effectively is a way of keeping that energy localized. Now, the monopolar pad in Morpheus8's case is on the handpiece surface where the needles kind of come out. Okay, so it's here. Crucially, though, because the energy travels from the tissue it's inserted into, the needles are inserted into, to the handpiece, you get this kind of vertical streak of destruction called coagulation that destroys the surface layer of the skin called the epidermis as well. Now, sometimes this can be useful, but not always. Now, if this happens, it's probably going to take around 8 to 16 weeks to heal, depending on the person, the skincare, sun protection, diet, lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. I always say that if you want to speed this process up and also make sure that the healing is as good as possible, then add in, say, a combination package of treatment where you also include, say, LED therapy with an LED device that's capable of reaching 240 joules per square centimeter in a single 20-minute session, and use that to apply near-infrared at 830 nanometers. On top of that, you can prepare the skin before with good quality skincare that has high-strength vitamin A and sun cream, and then you carry this on into the post-op period too. For even further benefit, and for those that are able to do it, also add in home microdosing injections of NAD+, which boosts your body's ability to have optimal cell function. And on top of that, if you want the full 360, then take Glutamther for 2 weeks post-op, which is a food supplement with pharmaceutical level data that's been shown to massively speed up wound healing and optimize the body's mitochondrial function. If you're having epidermal damage in your session and you don't do at least one of these things, then honestly, you're going to have a horrible time, and I probably wouldn't even be able to do a full treatment for you for maximum benefit. For example, right, people who have thin skin but insist on a deep treatment, thinking that deeper means better, they just look worse. This is because if your skin, let's say, is only 1 millimeter thick, but you insist on the needle going down to 2 millimeters, then the needles aren't in the skin anymore, right? They're going to be in the fat instead. And it will literally start to hollow your face out to make you look more like a skeleton, because you're kind of cooking your fat and shrinking it like a steak. Now, when you use bipolar, though, as you can see from this picture that I'll put on screen, the epidermis is intact. So you can have tightening without such a long healing time because the surface is intact. There's room for both depending on the patient. Now, when you understand that skin thickness and starting quality of that skin and patient acceptance of adjunctive therapies to optimize treatment are definitely things to consider. You should realize a couple of things. Firstly, when a practitioner sells you other things like skincare or any of the other things I've just mentioned to speed up healing, it's not a trick to get you to buy more. It's to make sure that you genuinely get the best results, so you don't leave them a bad review or leave unhappy with the result or get any risks or complications. And hopefully now you understand why these things are a good idea. Secondly, a provider that isn't able to think critically about looking at skin thickness to plan needle depth and number of different depths to hit is someone who's driving the car with no control of speed or direction. This is the sort of person to avoid. I admit that as a member of the public, you won't be able to tell this, but at least question why they've chosen their depth and see if they can relate it to your skin thickness as a test, as a rough test. With all this, you really should understand now that it's not about the marketing of a device. The amount or quality of marketing of a device, or injectable or skincare, has nothing to do with how good it is. There are terrible options out there with phenomenal marketing. But aside from marketing, neither does, say, a celebrity endorsement or a journalist that says it's amazing with absolutely no medical qualifications whatsoever. And in this case, it's more about, shall we say, the intelligence of the provider and the quality of training that the manufacturer gave them when they bought the device. Now, as I said earlier, there's, in my opinion, a better device than the Morpheus8 out there. I'm sure there are many. But one of the reasons this device is the royalty of fractional RF for me is that not only can you control the settings for energy delivery, but you have the ability to measure how much energy is actually needed, as well as, so many things that it will take me an hour to go through them all. It's the Lutronic genius, and it can measure the skin's electrical resistance before a pulse so that the amount of energy transferred is the same each time, and in a safe amount, more importantly. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't cause harm with it. You still need good training, which Lutronic provides, and you still need to use your brain to figure out what's safe for that individual patient in front of you, as well as how to combine it with other treatments to maximize the result, as well as healing speed and minimizing the risk of complications. If you want to look into this treatment, go to the Lutronic website, and there should be a clinic locator to see who has the device near you. And as a plus point, it's in many different countries too, which is useful for a global audience like you guys.